All right, good morning. Thank you everyone for being with us here this morning. Today is our third and final day in our series this week featuring local experts and professionals focusing on the mental and emotional well-being of populations here in the area during this pandemic. During this morning's update, Dr. Bob Lutz with the Spokane Regional Health District will give his daily update. He'll also be joined by Annie Murphy, the Executive Director of the Spokane Regional Domestic Violence Coalition, and Dr. Ashley Beck with the Spokane Regional Health District, who this morning will be focusing on the issue of domestic violence in the home during the COVID-19 outbreak, what warnings to look for, and of course, resources available for victims. Now, we will also be joined this morning by Spokane County Commissioner Mary Cuney, who will have an update on local nonprofits and the work they're doing right now here in our community. And she'll also be speaking about the relief funds coming from the federal and state government aimed at COVID-19 relief. Now, as always, if you have any questions, please share them with us this morning here on our Facebook page. And with that, we'll start with Dr. Lutz.
Good morning. Thank you, Patrick. And I'm going to look to Caroline and make sure I'm doing this right. Good morning.
Beautiful.
Well, this is going to be a little more scripted than in the past because I think there's a lot that I'd like to make sure I get out there. So first of all, I want to say thank you. Thank you, all of you. Thank you for your sacrifice. Thanks for staying home, staying away from friends, staying away from family, and the way that you work and the businesses that you typically depend on in order to support your family. Your sacrifices are, I believe, saving lives. Maybe it's somebody's grandparents, maybe it's somebody's aunt, maybe their brother or their partner or significant other has been saved because you have stayed home. Thank you. Last night, Governor Inslee took a strong step to protect the public's health and to continue our state's progress to slow down the spread of COVID-19, announcing the expansion of his stay home, stay healthy order for an additional 30 days through May 4th. This is a sacrifice. This is a sacrifice, again, all of us are making, but it's an essential sacrifice. We are beginning to see how social distancing is making a difference in Washington state, and it's vital we continue our efforts by remaining home, keeping physical contact contained within our households. By staying solid with these measures, we will continue to see progress and limit the potential for a second wave. Unfortunately, here in Spokane County, we now have had 194 cases of COVID-19, and again, unfortunately, 7 deaths. And I believe we all know we will still continue to see increases, making this extension even more significant and necessary in our effort to save lives. Despite these sacrifices and hardships that all of us are making, and that for many are very devastating, we all need to do what we need to do to protect ourselves and others, our loved ones and our neighbors, from a potentially life-threatening illness. It's important to remember that staying home, stay healthy order requires you to physically isolate yourself from others, but it doesn't mean that you should mentally or emotionally isolate. Use technology to remain in contact with friends and loved ones. We've all become probably very familiar with Zoom and GoToMeetings or Facebook, such as this. Get outside for exercise and fresh air, walk your dogs, play with your kids, and plan family activities to keep your spirits and children engaged. But do so while keeping yourself and others safe. So the social distancing that we continue to emphasize, stay 6 feet apart when you have to go out for essential services or jobs. Practice good cough and respiratory etiquette. Wash your hands, and please don't touch your face. And of course, clean those high-touch surfaces often. I believe that if we stay this course and practice these recommendations and follow the stay home, stay healthy order, we will slow the spread in Spokane County and we will save lives. This morning we're taking a different tack about, again, unfortunately talking about a very significant topic in our community, domestic violence, and the effects of stay home, stay healthy order. So with that, I'll turn to Dr. Ashley Beck.
Good morning. I'm Dr. Ashley Beck. I am the Associate Director of the Community Health at Spokane Regional Health District. I'm here to talk to you today about domestic violence prevention in light of the measures that have been taken in our community to protect us from COVID-19, including most recently what we just heard from Dr. Lutz, the extension of the Stay Home, Stay Healthy order. While the measures taken by the governor and by our local community are necessary steps to help flatten the curve and to save lives, we know that these measures are having a tremendous impact on families. And for some families already facing hardships, that these impacts have been devastating and even dangerous. For all human beings, the fear and anxiety around this disease creates stress on our bodies. For some individuals and families, the social distance measures alone have been devastating to them. We've seen and heard a lot of lost jobs as businesses and industries have temporarily closed or greatly slowed to protect and participate in social distancing. We know that adults are facing great pressure in having to care for others, in having to provide for their families, pay their bills, and they're facing limited opportunities to change their circumstances when they're being asked and told to stay home. It's more important than ever that we as adults are focusing on recognizing the signs of stress and responding to those in a healthy way. When we start to feel stressed, you might feel this pressure and tightness physically in your body when you get tension in places like your head or your chest or other parts of your body. You might feel that your heart rate is rising or your breathing is becoming more rapid. This is a stress response that's designed to protect your body, but it can also keep us in a really heightened state and it can make us engage in fight or flight when that doesn't protect us and when it even can become unhealthy. I shared several examples yesterday of ways that you can help your body balance stress in a healthy way. These included things like deep breathing, social connection, exercise, some of the things that Dr. Lutz just shared again. I want to acknowledge that this is hard. It's very hard to prioritize taking care of your body and your mental health and well-being when you're facing great stress, hardship, and the pressures that our community is facing. But it's really critical that we do that. When individuals are not in tune with the feelings in their body, haven't seen healthy coping skills demonstrated, haven't had healthy relationships or communication, it's even harder to balance their stress in a healthy way. Some might turn to unhealthy behaviors such as drinking, smoking, using other substances. These are things that in the short term can feel good, or maybe even you think that they might help you feel better, but they can all cause harm. Some might even engage in damaging or unacceptable behaviors as a response to stress, including aggressive, intimidating, or abusive communication. Most severely, some engage in violence or physical forms of assault towards children, partners, or others. These behaviors are damaging and unacceptable. These behaviors can create unsafe environments and trauma, potentially lifelong impacts to those involved. Even witnessing these behaviors as a child in a chaotic or dysfunctional household can create lifelong trauma impacting their own health and relationships in the future. I want to acknowledge that we're all facing unprecedented amounts of stress and hardships, and that some are facing much more of these than others. If you find yourself struggling to engage in healthy behaviors to balance your stress, struggling in your relationships and your communication with others, struggling to combat the physical tension and pressure that your body is feeling in this great state of pressure and uncertainty, if you find yourself engaging in unhealthy communication or even violent behaviors, there are resources that are available to support you. There are resources that are still operating in our community, and we've seen a great kind of creative shift in this industry to make counselors and therapists available via telehealth and online. There are resources such as domestic violence treatment programs. There are also chemical dependency and substance use treatment programs that are still operating in our community right now. These are things that can help build the skills to respond to stress in a healthy way. They can help support healthy relationships and communication with individuals and with families. I urge you all to take steps to recognize how your own body is feeling, recognizing your own stress process, the tension, and the way that that you're taking steps to balance that body's reaction. If you're struggling or find yourself engaging in unhealthy behaviors, you are not alone, and I urge you to seek the support in building skills and strategies that can help you balance your body during this difficult time. Doing this can help you and your family build resilience and connection, and even help you stay physically healthy right now during this trying time. Thank you so much.
Good morning. My name is Annie Murphy, and I'm the Executive Director for Spokane Regional Domestic Violence Coalition. Looking at current events, specifically with the extension of the Stay Home, Stay Healthy order, as well as school closures, it is more important now, more than ever, that we remind victims here in the Spokane region that we are here for you. Not only are multiple agencies such as the YWCA Spokane and Lutheran Community Services telephone lines available 24/7, but also we must continue and talk to plan around alternative approaches to reach people in this time of isolation. I encourage everyone in their role of a caring community member to look around you. Think of those people that you used to see in your day-to-day life, and maybe even you still see now. We know domestic violence does not discriminate based on race, gender, sexual orientation, or socioeconomic status, amongst other definitions. 1 in 3 women and 1 in 10 men in Spokane will be a victim of domestic violence. You may be a victim, or you may know a victim. So again, think of those people around you and check in on them. Ask how they're doing, call them, video chat, and if you have to, knock on the door and step back 6 feet. If you are an essential worker in a grocery store, in a pharmacy, at a bank, or at the doctor's office, or in some other important role to make our society continue to run, you may be one of the primary interfaces a victim has inside of our community. The Spokane Regional Domestic Violence Coalition, along with the End the Violence campaign and BHW1, has been working on creating a detailed resource list around domestic violence and child abuse resources during the COVID-19 response. This list can be found on our Facebook, hopefully updated to our website soon, as well as will be posted to the Spokane COVID Response Facebook page for distribution. We encourage businesses and providers to have these resources available for when people come through your doors. We have a limited number of posters available we would also be happy to provide you at no cost. Additionally, we are working at partnering with school districts and meal distribution sites across our region to get these resources out in paper form as well as electronically. How we treat people during this time matters. Offering a listening ear, sharing resources, and helping people to connect for safety planning is important. Just because we may not be seeing an overwhelming number of reports now does not mean that things are safe for everyone at home. So, how do you know that abuse is happening? For the coalition, we have accepted a broad definition of domestic violence, which includes intimate partner violence, but it also includes sexual assault, child abuse, and elder abuse. It can look like physical violence against another person, seeing bruises, reports of hitting. But it can also include jealousy, stalking, and controlling behaviors, as well as manipulation. There can be threats of violence with guns and other weapons. It can be verbal abuse, putting down, and belittling. It can involve child custody issues and using a pet or a child as collateral. It can be denying someone of their basic needs and not allowing them to leave the house, to not seek medical attention when necessary. What may have been yelling, throwing things, or shoving yesterday can turn deadly tomorrow. For years, I've led a coalition made up of over 30 organizations such as victim advocates, DV treatment providers, law enforcement, the courts, healthcare providers, business representatives, and others, all who are focused on ending the violence in our community. Now, more than ever, we as a group are asking you, the community, to help us in this work. Domestic violence, child abuse, and sexual assault are real. You may have heard statistics indicating we have some of the highest rates in the state. We have 14,500 domestic violence 911 calls annually. We must believe survivors, and we must pay attention to what is happening around us now more than ever. You can visit our website, www.endtheviolencespokane.org, for detailed descriptions and to view our documentary. It takes all of us working together to address this problem. If you see or hear behaviors that could potentially be signs of domestic violence, please say something. Say something to the individual, or if in immediate danger, call 911. All abusive tactics must be taken seriously. The COVID-19 situation introduces an increased risk for persons experiencing neglect, domestic violence, or child abuse. With more social isolation, it is harder to detect. April is National Child Abuse Prevention Month, and we are reminded now that many of our children are not in school with a trusted adult role model. If you are using a childcare option, please research who you're leaving your child with or call the 800 number on our resource list to find a provider. For our children, but also for our adults, YWCA Spokane and Lutheran Community Services, as well as Safe Passage in Idaho, amongst other agencies, are still open. All of our primary victim service agencies, as well as 911, have the ability to text and are available 24/7. This allows discretion in getting help in unsafe situations. They would prefer that you call 911 prior to texting, but if that is not an option, text is available. Please reach out for help when you need it, and as a community, let's look out for those around us in this uncertain time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley, and thank you, Annie. I'm Spokane County Commissioner Mary Cuney, and I just want to reiterate that I'm on a work group for domestic violence for the state of Washington for the governor's office, and it is a very real situation and a very real issue. And so, look at those websites. If you feel you need it, reach out. That's so important, and so it is something that we do see in our community. With that, I'd like to talk about a few things from the county. One of them is school district food delivery. So we've talked about that Spokane School District 81 is delivering about 7,000 meals a day. Across the county with the other school districts in Spokane County, we are seeing 18,403 meals being done in addition to the meals at School District 81. Again, those provide opportunities for us to see where that vulnerable population is, to see where those needs are. And so, again, it's reach out, it's listen to what's going on as that food distribution is happening. Those kids need that interaction as well as they're now home. The other thing that the school districts are doing, we're going into spring break. They're going to be providing those meals during spring break. Normally they wouldn't, but they are this time. I mean, it's so important, again, that as our community needs are out there, we want to make sure we're addressing those, and the school districts are doing a great job to ensure that families have the food on their table to help them during this time. On the weekend, they're also, through Bites to Go and other projects, making sure that those kids are having meals for the weekend. So again, it's everybody coming together that is really helping to make this happen and to make, the students in our districts across the county have food on the table. So I thank all the efforts that are happening with the food workers. They're kind of ones that have been forgotten. And so I do want to reach out and just say thank you to all the food service employees at all the school districts that are working very hard to ensure that there are meals on the table. What's going on with other nonprofits? So there's a lot of work that's going on with other nonprofits. The Emergency Communication Center, though, is accumulating that information. So with the food banks, a lot of their volunteers are over 60 years old. They're asking for volunteers. We're coordinating that through the through other organizations that are coming into our center here, so that way we can make that coordination effort happen for them. And so we want to have that continue to happen. So it's going to be important to watch the Emergency Communications website to see what opportunities there are out there for you to help to volunteer. There are community funds that are being developed, and they're trying to get that money out to the community as soon as possible. You saw through the Federal CARES Act, they're trying to get that money out as soon as possible to our communities. It may take a couple weeks for those checks, and so we're trying to help watch and monitor what those needs are. And again, if you have needs, please reach out to us so that way we can help coordinate those efforts. The other thing that is happening with Spokane County is we're getting additional funds through the state and through the federal government. With the state, we got a grant for $1.4 million through the Department of Commerce. That money then we had the city of Spokane take the lead for the region, and that's what helped get the new library distancing homeless shelter set up for us. And so that's up and starting to function at this point. But those are regional efforts that are happening. I mean, that's where the Spokane Valley, City of Spokane, and Spokane County are all coming together to make that happen. The other thing that we just found out yesterday is that we will be getting additional community development block grant funds for COVID-19 relief. The city of Spokane will be getting approximately $1.9 million. Spokane County will be getting $970,000. We want to make sure that those funds come in as quickly as possible and we can get those out to everybody as quickly as possible. It can go to help stir the economy. It can go to different partners, food banks, all kinds of different areas in our community. But we want to make sure that we get that out there quickly. So we are working very hard here at the Emergency Communication Center to make sure that we take the bureaucracy out of that and we can get those funds out to the public as soon as possible. And I know that the Department of Commerce is also working with our businesses that we anticipate there's going to be some funding coming to help with our business recovery efforts. And again, the CARES Act, the federal government has been doing a great job in different calls to let our chambers know, which are all working very hard together and have the information on their website for our small businesses to know what to do, where to go, where to fill out forms. And they're more than happy to help you navigate that area. So please reach out to, I know Greater Spokane Incorporated, the Valley Chamber, and the West Plains Chamber all have great websites that they're directing everybody to help you, then help your business continue during this time. I guess the other things I'd like to say is this is the time that we are physically distancing, but we don't have to socially distance. Keeping that physical distance is important, but you need to be socially connected. So how can we do that? I know my son came to me and talked about his anxiety over what's going on right now in the world. You need to reach out and talk to your kids. They may not tell you that they're having that anxiety, but they are. So please reach out and talk to them. You can do a virtual, get cheese and crackers and do a virtual happy hour with friends. I mean, that's something we've done here lately. You can have that time to just connect again with those friends that you aren't seeing that you normally would, go out and have dinner with. You can still do that. You just get to do it through different video chats and different video conferences. Those coffee clubs that we see a lot of seniors have in the morning. Get together and have a video chat, and have your cup of coffee in hand and do a video chat with the 5 of you that normally get together at one of the local coffee clubs. So those are the things that I think are important for us to remember. As this stay at home, stay healthy order has been extended to May 4th, it's important for us to really stay socially connected. And there's going to be many ways to do that, and especially as we have Easter coming up. This would normally be spring break when people are taking vacations, and that's not happening. Again, talk to your family, talk to your friends, talk to your kids, because they are the ones that are really impacted by this with not having school. Again, the schools are doing a great job trying to keep that connection with teachers. I've heard a lot of great stories of teachers reaching out to students and keeping them connected, keeping assignments going, keeping that routine going is important. I think that's one of the things that I would suggest is have a routine that's your weekday routine versus your weekend routine, to just kind of, make it so we don't feel like we're all repeating the same day over and over and over. So, as we know, we've extended the stay till May 4th. It's another 30 days, but we can get through it. We're strong. We're inland strong. And I guess I would like to just end with a quote from Winston Churchill. "Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts." And so I hope we will all continue. Thank you.
And we have a question for Amy, actually, if you don't mind. There's concern with couples, families now spending both of their days all together, most of the confined space at home. what are some things they can do to spend some time apart, and how important is that?
I think that spending some time apart is really important, and that there are a lot of ways to get creative about that in a household where you're all staying in the same household at the same time. So we know that too much time together can be really stressful for any kind of relationship. When you're at home and you're distancing and you're working or you're doing all these different things, we've heard a lot of different examples of things just kind of start to blend together a little bit. And so I think if you can recognize what you need as an individual and communicate that with a partner, and try to get that, prioritize each of you getting that time for that individual space and care that you need. Some examples might be, someone gets to, some time, someone watches kids and someone else takes some time to have a phone call with a friend by themselves, or a bath or shower by themselves, and just a little bit of time for that individual time to kind of recharge. We know that a lot of time together as a family unit can be great, but too much is really challenging. So I'd just say prioritize how you can some time for yourselves while staying at home as well.
The only thing I would add is I think we're very fortunate to live where we live, and also with the encouragement to get outside. We know that exercise is so important to overall health. So taking space outside, taking a walk, taking a run, whatever that looks like for people is so important. Also, there's been an encouragement to not take your whole family to the grocery store. So as a mom, the opportunity to go grocery shopping by myself, I will gladly take. Thank you.
And our final question this morning will be for Dr. Lutz. We have a person watching right now, a viewer at home, wanting to know kind of where the numbers are at and wanting to know if they're stabilizing or if we have a good idea if that's happening or not right now.
Yeah, so the question about whether our numbers are stabilizing, unfortunately, I can't say that they are. We continue to see a steady increase early on, which is what you would expect in a curve such as this. You start seeing a doubling rate that accelerates pretty quickly. We are still seeing an increase of anywhere between 10 to 20% increasing number of cases per day. And again, much of that, however, is just a function of how often and how many people are being tested. So long story short, we are not seeing a flattening of the curve at this point. So, and I guess with that, we'll end today's Facebook Live. Have a good weekend. Stay safe, stay at home, and we'll see you next week. Thank you.